One of the things I think that's most interesting about adopting this kind of a perspective is that it opens up questions that aren't conventionally asked, but which probably, the answers to which probably lie at the basis of effective education for professionals. And one of those questions is, at what point, or maybe it's points really, do students actually make the transition from being simply students to beginning to become novice professionals? But a second question is, where do faculty members, where do law teachers begin to make a transition in their approach to their classes? At what point, in other words, are they dealing with their classes, members of those classes, as the way they would deal with students in any other field, versus points at which they are beginning to deal with those students and approach them as younger, less experienced associate professionals? And so one of the main objectives of educating tomorrow's lawyers is to learn, to really probe these issues, to produce new knowledge, to understand better where that happens. And once we understand where it happens, then to understand what kinds of pedagogical interventions are more effective than others in enabling that to work. So to take an analogy, in medical education, which of course goes on for much longer than law school, it's very clear where that happens, that the transition occurs when students begin in their clerkships to take supervised responsibility for patients. But it's interesting that it's not all or nothing, that they're still very much students, but they're learning gradually to become autonomous professionals. I think that's the kind of analogy which would be very useful to begin to employ, and our project will employ, in trying to understand better what happens in really effective legal education.